have to buy things they don't need in order to build up their self-worth. As Christians, I think we have to be very clear that our status, our self-worth, our happiness simply do not come from having things. People, when they're depressed, they go and shop. And every time when I go to Costco, I see how people buy all those things. I just can't understand. Why would they need all those things in their household? And I don't know whether you've passed houses that are doing garage sale. You'll be amazed at how much stuff they can take from their house and all those garbage they have in their house. And the funnier thing is those garbage people do buy. So one house's garbage becomes another household's garbage, and they just keep moving it around. And we are taught to accumulate things that we don't need because we thought the process of accumulation brings happiness and brings self-worth and brings satisfaction inside. But we found that is so short-lived. If your happiness, your satisfaction, your self-worth is built on what you own and what you buy, what you possess, then you'll never be happy. You'll never have enough. And you just keep accumulating. And a lot of people, even Christians, their credit card debts has gotten so out of hand that I got a lot of questions from Christians. What am I going to do? I have $30,000, $40,000 in debt. And when I asked them, are you gambling? My first question is, are you gambling? Oh, no, I'm not gambling. Then they have a spending habit. So it takes certain discipline. And I have not found another way where you can have financial stewardship discipline without the use of a written spreadsheet budget. Now, I know most families do not do budgets. Most single people do not do budgets. They don't have budget. They just feel that, oh, I don't overspend. I'm pretty prudent with what I do with my money. And I try not to overspend. I try to have something left behind. That's really not good enough. There has to be a tool, a basic tool, which is a budget. And a budget breaks down your income, your disposable income, and all your expenses. And in my family, starting from my parents, I can see how they do their budgets. And then my wife and I do our budget. So every month we have a budget and we keep track of that. So if you come to my house and you say, 5 years ago in May, how did you spend your money? I can show you the budget and I can show you a record of our expenditures. Now the two goes hand in hand. It's not good enough to just do a budget. You can have a spreadsheet breaking down all your expenses by month. But if you don't have a tracking system whereby every day you record your spending, whether it's cash or credit card or by check, you record your spending under the categories you use in your budget. And then every month you total it up and measure against the budget. That helps you build your discipline. Now I found that most families do not do that. They feel that it's too restrictive, it's too cumbersome. They may try it for a little while and then they give up. Or they have a budget, they keep track of the expenses for a little while and then they stop keeping track of the expenses. So there's no way to measure whether you are following your budgets. So I found the budget spreadsheet is a tremendous tool for building financial discipline. And you're single, you do your own budget. When you're married, you do a family budget, husband and wife together, to agree on the expenses that you are going to incur every month. It takes planning. And I can guarantee you, if you haven't done your budget and you started doing your budgets, you couldn't make it come out because your spending will be over your disposable income. It's almost always true. And some people have a hard time doing their budgets because they don't know how they are spending their money. So we would tell them, first you keep track of your spending for a few months so you see how you're spending your money. And then you sit down and then ask yourself how I ought to spend my money. And if your total expenses exceed your income, you know you're not going to make it. You know you're going to make it. So You just have to adjust your numbers. But it is not a numbers game because you really want to stick to that budget. Now let me just have a quick show of hand. How many of you use a written budget? You have something written down as a budget. Oh, praise the Lord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Everyone, I think, should use that. I cannot think of another way where you can plan your savings and instill in yourself financial discipline without a budget and the corresponding tracking system. There's no way. Now, the spreadsheet, you do it once a year, right? Is it once a year by month? Spreadsheet, very easy to do. I have a template that I can send to you. It's very easy. You set it up. You just plug in numbers. But the process of plugging in a number requires you to review how you're spending your money and whether you want to spend that number or whether it could be something lower. In order to have savings, it is a planned action. I found that it's no good to say that I'll try to be as prudent as I can, and I hope that at the end of the month I'll have something left over. It's just not good enough, because chances are you won't have anything left over. If your giving also comes from leftover, chances are you won't have anything left over to give to the Lord. And then you start borrowing from the Lord and tell the Lord, I'll pay you back with interest when I have the money. And after a few months, you won't have that desire to give anymore, because you get used to not giving, owing the Lord, and then you found that you're still okay. You didn't get sick. You didn't get into a car wreck. God didn't curse you, so it must be okay. It must be okay if I don't give, or I just give when I have it. That's a very, very bad attitude. And once you started that, then everything started to crumble. Your whole financial stewardship started to crumble. So the two is the spreadsheet, the budget spreadsheet, and then the tracking system. Now, I have found that it is difficult to have the tracking system on a computer. High tech, sure, that's good. High tech, everybody's high tech these days. But I found that at least in my household situation, if I use high tech to track, then after a while, it gets so cumbersome. So I use low tech. Every month, I have a piece of paper, I handwrite the categories, and then every day when I get home, I enter under each category the money that I spent. And then I total it up at the end of the month, then I put it into a spreadsheet so that I can compare with the budget to see where I went wrong. And after a while, when you have the discipline, you kind of know whether you're following the budget and whether the budget is realistic. At the beginning, it could be unrealistic, or you overspend, you haven't built up that discipline yet. But after a while, it becomes pretty natural that you don't do impulse buying. You don't go to the mall just to have a look around because you feel a little depressed, so you want to go there and find some relief, and you start buying things that's not planned. In our household, we do not buy anything that is unplanned. It's as simple as that. You do not just go there and based on your impulse to start buying. Everything has to be planned, and then we look for discounts. There's so many opportunities to get discount. We don't pay full price, even if for the things that you need. You know, I do buy a lot of books. I like to read books. I always buy used books. They're so cheap. They're great books. You can buy it at a fraction of the cost. And everything, if you give it enough time and you want to do the research, you can always buy it at a fairly substantial discount. So we never pay full price, and we always clip coupons. Still clipping coupons to save money, food. So this becomes a discipline. It becomes natural. You do not feel bad when you do that. It becomes so natural. It's part of the stewardship discipline that you are just not going to spend money that is unnecessary, that only satisfy your ego, that only helps you to build up your self-worth. We don't do that. We don't do that. So we never want to drive a certain type of car in order to impress people. You never impress people that way. So this is going counter to what American culture teaches us. Yet the Lord calls us to be separate from the normal people. We just have to have that discipline. So I hope those people who did not put up your hand, you go back and you try your budget spreadsheet. It doesn't matter whether you're low income or high income. You only have so much to spend, and you need to control your spending. Okay, so I assume all of you have those basic discipline. So you started saving some money. Maybe not initially when you started working. You still have student loans to pay. Your income is still fairly low. You can't save up much money. You have to watch every dollar. But after a few years, if the Lord blesses you in your career, you started being promoted, your salaries increase. I would say in the 4th or the 5th year after you started working, you ought to be able to start saving money. If at the 5th year you're still unable to save, make allowance for the first five years. Oh, you just, unless you live at home, things are so expensive. You're living in an expensive part of the country, I can't save money. But unless you have some interruption in your career, normally by the 4th or the 5th year, you ought to be able to start saving some money. Now, the earlier you can save money, the better. But if by the 5th year you're still not able to save some money every month, planned saving, then you ought to look at your budget, look at your lifestyle again to see. I don't deny that for some people they're stuck in a low-paying job that they really can't save too much money. But I have seen families that never earned more than $30,000 a year. Yet when they came to see me, you can never tell they're millionaires. Yet they never earn more than $30,000. Now, those are older folks that they invest in real estate early on. A little bit we're going to talk about real estate investment. But older folks, maybe our parents, they buy their home, it's more affordable then. And I've seen a lot of Chinese elderly people that they purchased their home, a small home, and they later on their family grew. They pay off their home. They try very hard to pay off the loan as quickly as they can, and then they move to a slightly bigger house, nothing luxurious. Yet they kept their former home for rental. So they generate rental income. And if you ask me what is the most tax advantaged investment in America, it's got to be real estate. We're going to go talk about that a little bit later on. But these families, they have a very frugal lifestyle, yet they started investing, buying their home early on, and they pay it off as soon as they can. By the time they retire, they have 2-3 houses. Each one is worth maybe $300,000-$400,000. It's nothing in this area, but they're all paid off. So they're millionaires. They have more than $1 million in equity. Yet if you look at the way they dress, you never thought they have that kind of equity. So it may be a lot more difficult these days. These folks have done it in the older days when things are not as expensive. But then they did not have the opportunity you have these days to be able to improve your job skills, to take advantage of this area, the job market, It's once again booming. So you have a lot more opportunity to increase your income. And tonight we're not talking about self-improvement, how to make yourself more employable, how to increase your job skill, thereby increasing your income so that you're not stuck in a low-paying job. It takes efforts. It takes sacrifices. But I assume most of you already have your college degree, you're in a profession, you're starting out maybe in the fourth, fifth year. You have to start saving money by the fifth year. And the first place where we put our money, our saving, is to maximize our 401k. That really is a gift from the government. If you're not maximizing the 401k, yet you are using your non-retirement account to save, then you're missing out on a very important tax-advantaged savings tool. Now, some people, after the last downturn in the market, say, "Oh, I don't want to touch 401k because I lost a lot of money in the 401k."